On April 24, 2015, I uploaded a review of Shinsekai Yori to a YouTube channel called Under the Scope. Now, 3 years and 99 more uploads later, I've hit my 100th video. It's certainly been a winding road to this point. There was a time when I uploaded new content every week, but as my schedule grew busier and my style more demanding, that became no longer feasible. Still, even as I toiled through the worst of my mini hiatuses last summer, I never once considered quitting altogether. Now with Mr. Nice Guy helping out on the production side of things, I believe that commitment has paid off. Those of you newer to the channel may not know this, but Nice first approached me to collab back when I had less than 200 subscribers, and we've been working together ever since. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone who's followed me up to this point, whether you joined at video 8 or 80. It means the world to me that people get something out of my content, given how much I get out of making it. To mark the occasion of my 100th upload and 3-year anniversary, I thought what a great idea to give my top 30 anime list, which I released on my first anniversary, a much-needed update. Rather than retread old ground, however, I decided to select 30 new series that maybe didn't make the cut back then, or I watched for the first time since. Here's that original list in alphabetical order. To clarify, none of these will make an appearance. Got that? I don't want to have to read through 100 Where's Brotherhoods in the comments. Some of the shows you'll see here place as high as my second and third favorites of all time now. As such, a ranking of these 30 wouldn't make much sense, so I'll cover them in chronological order. Stay tuned until the end for a complete re-ranking of my top 30. I again didn't include movies here, with the exception of a couple franchise films. Another list for another time. Secondly, I skewed away from recent series, meaning 2017 and 18, as I've covered those fairly extensively. This likely won't be the last of these lists, so I'll find room next time. No matter where I draw the line, there are going to be some painful decisions, so bear in mind, just because a series missed my cut, doesn't mean I don't still love it. Okay, that's enough setup. Let's get to it, shall we? Today, Under the Scope, I present to you 30 more top anime series of all time. Akage no An. One of Isao Takahata's several contributions to world masterpiece theater, Akage no An is a pioneer of the slice-of-life genre. It's a standout coming of age that serves as a reminder to appreciate life's transience, to take in the world around you from time to time. The oil painting aesthetic really sells the beauty of nature An loves so much. While I'm only about halfway through the series at the time of this writing, Akage no An has already established itself as one of my favorite slice-of-lifes, which is saying something considering my boundless love for the style. I encourage all of you to give this series a look to see one of the best to ever do it at work. The hole left by Isao Takahata's passing will perhaps never be filled, but the impact his works had on everyone who watched them won't soon be forgotten. The Rose of Versailles. Adapted from Ryoko Ikeda's 1972 manga, widely considered one of the most influential shoujo works of all time, The Rose of Versailles is a thrilling and fairly historically accurate retelling of the French Revolution through the eyes of a strong-willed, freedom-fighting noble, Oscar Francois. Centering the series around a fictional character in Oscar rather than its historical figures like Marie Antoinette allows the story far more creative room to function while still holding true to fact. While Oscar herself would go on to serve as inspiration for a number of other famous characters like Utena Tenjo, Rose of Versailles is among the most notable in a line of 70s shoujo about overthrowing oppressive power structures. It's very much a tale of two halves. Campy melodrama rules the first, with all the wonderful histrionics of nobles at court. However, when Osamu Dezaki takes over in the second half, it morphs into a more cinematic tale, as the sound of revolution rings in. The first of two Dezaki Ikeda crossovers, expect to see more of this pairing as we move forward. Gunbuster and Dynex. In addition to being Hideaki Anno's directorial debut, Gunbuster is a mech classic with its story of hard work and guts. Exploring the effects of time dilation, watching the characters essentially miss out on their own lives makes for an emotional arc more resonant in 6 episodes than many shows manage in twice that. Meanwhile, Gunbuster, its sequel and Dynex's 20th anniversary project, tells a remarkable coming-of-age centered around the nature of maturity and ability. More energetic than its parent series, it's Fooly Cooly style Gynax and Tsurumaki at the height of their powers. However, the real reason the Busters are on this list is their endings. Taken together, they make for perhaps the most cathartic conclusion to any anime I've seen. Emotional and poetic, I won't spoil you here, but even if you don't care for either series early on, it's worth seeing it through, if only for their incredible finales. Oniisama A. Some critics have an odd habit of using the term melodrama as criticism itself, but it's just a style of storytelling. When people use it as a pejorative, this often arises from it feeling out of place. The story wants you to take it completely seriously, but the theatrics undercut that. Good melodrama, then, knows how to use those exaggerations to play up to its emotional center. Combining themes of bullying, substance abuse, depression, and ultimately the classist power struggle common to Ryoko Ikeda's works, Oniisama A, or Dear Brother, is the perfect example of melodrama done right. Both hilarious and compelling, it balances its soap opera format with a transfixing pain that lends weight to what could be trivial, rather than the other way around. Tazaki's visual composition and style of framing drama here illustrates just how influential the late director was on so many that came after. Sometimes a trip into the messy lives of characters struggling to handle their loud feelings in circuitous circumstances is exactly the release I need from my milquetoast life, and no anime I've seen does that better than Oniisama A. Revolutionary Girl Utena. Starring one of my favorite characters, helmed by one of my favorite directors, Revolutionary Girl Utena holds a lofty perch among my top 3 anime of all time. I love stories that break away from traditional narrative structure in interesting ways, and few creatives in anime are more consistently great at that than Kunihiko Ikuhara. A thoughtful exploration of gender, adolescence, sex, and heroes, there's too many themes for me to list. What do I say about a series that attempts to revolutionize the world and also sees a character lay an egg and turn into a cow? Utena is filled with toxic relationships. A huge part of it is in how it breaks those down. It sidesteps the conventional views of fairy tale roles, with the princess attempting to save the Wicked Witch from the prince. Ultimately, it's about breaking free from oppressive systems, finding that strength of your own volition. We might not be able to save others from their fate, but we can at least lend them a helping hand, show them a way forward, so that someday, together, we'll shine. Overflowing with evocative imagery and rolling hills of symbolism, there's far too much to unpack here for me to capture it all in a couple hundred words, but simply put, I believe Revolutionary Girl Utena is one of the most important stories ever told. Trigun. You'd be hard-pressed to find many more classic 90s anime than Trigun. A story of bounty hunters and outlaws, Trigun is basically anime's take on old westerns. That said, its million-dollar man Vash the Stampede isn't exactly the John Wayne type. No, he's more preoccupied with spreading his message of love and peace. Also donuts. The first half is silly comedy-oriented, while the second takes a more dramatic turn, where it finds its stride in my view. Admittedly, it's been quite some time since I last watched it, so maybe this is the nostalgia goggles talking. I can't say for sure whether Trigun has stood the test of time, but I'd love to revisit it and find out. If it's anything like I remember, it should be a fun ride. Ojamajo Doremi. Following a group of young witch apprentices and their daily struggle to solve the problems around their neighborhood, Ojamajo Doremi is a genuine delight. Few series combine such down-to-earth charm with a no-holds-barred style. I think what I've loved most about Doremi is how at home I feel while watching it. In part thanks to the feelings of community it creates, but also in its straightforwardness. Doremi wears its heart on its sleeve, and I appreciate it for that. With over 200 episodes, it's easily the longest series on this list, and one of only 2 I have yet to complete. However, through 1.5 seasons, I'm entirely confident in making this recommendation. Here's hoping more of those good times are still ahead. Haibane Ren Mei. I've never seen anything quite like Haibane Ren Mei. Yoshitoshi Abe works have a tendency to do that. It's part of the reason I'm such a sucker for them. Working through the mysteries of its compelling town provided such intrigue. Few series commit so powerfully to creating a specific mood. Its inviting atmosphere courses throughout. Stylistically, Haibane Ren Mei is a casualty of the early digital period in anime, but the engaging art direction more than makes up for its somewhat bland palette. Yoshitoshi Abe's art is unrivaled. Haibane Ren Mei earns its spot on this list thanks to the stellar characterization of its leads and an engrossing world. In the end, making for a uniquely thought-provoking experience I haven't found anywhere else. Aria. When talking about Iyashikei or healing anime, no conversation is complete without mention of this subgenre titan in Aria. With its tranquil atmosphere and methodical delivery, Aria is truly a perfection of the style. It has a rhythm to it. Each episode feels almost melodic in guiding you through the calming waters of Neo-Venetia. It's truly a utopian. Even when things go wrong, they have their own appreciation for it. It's basically Bob Ross the anime. Aria highlights the beauty in everything. I've only finished the first season, but I'm in no rush to work through the rest. The series premiere sees Akari slowly convince a young girl to cherish her surroundings here. Really, that's all of us. Aria wants you to savor the experience, to appreciate life as it comes at you, while you drift away into its soothing world. Nana. Not to be outdone by the earlier melodramatic entries on this list, Nana is quite the emotional rollercoaster itself. The series perfectly captures the experiences and mindset of 20-somethings trying to navigate their tangled world. Their emotions, relationships, and thought processes are as raw as they are relatable. It's a lesson in crafting believable, lifelike characters with meaningful drama that earns its weight. It's natural to drift apart from the people you once thought you'd never leave behind. Nana is about those changes. The stinging regret of a missed connection and a longing to return to a time when you were closest. But while you can't go backwards, there's always the hope you'll meet again someday. Nana repeatedly tests the resolve of its lead's friendship. Can it survive through it all? With people, there are no easy answers to that, but it's a ride I won't soon forget. The Haruhi Suzumiya franchise. One of the most recognizable icons in anime history, Haruhi played with the high school anime setup like few other series before it. The Haruhi craze in the mid to late 2000s was nothing short of a cultural wave, but it still stands the test of time some 10 plus years later. The characters have a rare chemistry, playing off each other's classic archetypes with a sharp wit. However, the principal reason it's on this list is the sequel film, The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. Wonderfully directed by Yasuhiro Takemoto, Disappearance highlighted exactly what made the Haruhi formula tick by completely removing it from that. The first in a long line of excellent KyoAni franchise films, Disappearance is a remarkable send-off for a remarkable series. If you compiled a list of the most essential anime for any fan, you'd have to leave a space for the SOS Brigade and their eccentric leader. Mononoke. With one of the more interesting aesthetics of any series on this list, Mononoke is the rare horror anime done right. Mostly set in feudal Japan, the story follows the enigmatic medicine seller as he travels the land searching for troublesome spirits called Mononoke. Told through 4 separate arcs, each centers around a unique collection of players and intrigue. It's similar to Mushishi in that regard, but where that is a more soothing series, this leans unsettling. The vibrant color palette breathes so much life into the world, really helping to sell that fantastical yet haunting vibe, until the final arc moves forward to Showa-era Japan and the colors turn duller in the industrial age. Mononoke is such a unique, atmospheric work. Horror and anime generally don't mix super well, but here is a must-see exception. Toradora. Back when I was first getting into anime, I watched a lot of romance. And I mean a lot. For every great still with me to this day, there's a dozen I wish I could forget. But those cliche-ridden slogs served a purpose. Because of them, I'm well-versed in the romance anime format. When it comes to this genre, the key difference separating the haves and the have-nots is heart. Look, Toradora is filled with classic anime tropes and archetypes. It makes no effort to hide that fact. But what it lacks in surface innovation, it makes up for in heart. Bad romance anime overflows with artificial drama, one-dimensional characters meant only as roadblocks for the leads, and a formulaic, too plot-driven focus. Toradora suffers none of that. Its developments all materialize organically, and the relationship at its core feels beautifully genuine. If you're looking for the quintessential romance anime, but good, Toradora is what you're after. Spicen Wolf. Show me a couple in anime with better chemistry than Holo and Lawrence from Spicen Wolf. With their playful banter and genuine understanding of each other, the two demonstrate such an engaging rapport every moment they share the screen. Even though it's been years since I last watched the series, I've yet to find a lead couple that's as much of a consistent joy to watch as these two. Well known for its economic slant, Spicen Wolf also makes great use of its medieval setting, both aesthetically and narratively. With a captivating world and a charming couple to guide us through it, Spicen Wolf easily earns a spot on this list, and a place as one of the best romances in anime. Kamini Todoke. Little known fact about my history with anime. Kamini Todoke was actually the second series I ever watched behind Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Not exactly what you'd consider a gateway anime, right? At the time, I just felt like watching a romantic story and happened to stumble across it while searching for recommendations. Seeing as how I'm here talking about this today, it should come as no surprise, I loved it. It's an adorable, saccharine story of an introverted girl outcast from her classmates, finding a close circle of friends and opening up to her crush. As I write this, I'm listening to the series openings and soundtrack, and I find myself filled with such warm nostalgia. I have no idea whether Kamini Todoke would hold that same effect on me now, with 300 plus anime under my belt, but honestly, I don't really care. I'll always hold a special place for these two dorks, and the wonderful impact they had on me. Sound of the Sky. I've said in the past how post-apocalyptic, grounded slice of life is one of my favorite subgenres. We already have one such entry on this list in Aria, and if I were ranking my favorite manga, I'd surely make room for another in Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko. Sound of the Sky, then, makes 3. I love how these works appreciate the sacred in the mundane, valuing the everyday in a world where those simple pleasures are harder to come by. Sound of the Sky is a story about hope. Boundless, impossible hope in the better nature of people. It's a world beset by tragedy, decaying on all sides, yet the sweet sound of the 1121st Platoon's faith and home is its amazing grace. Their victory is not in surviving, but in living, and all that comes with it. As melancholic as it is uplifting, Sound of the Sky is a truly unique, cute girls show, but it's that spirit of joy that carries it through. Chiqui. A classic vampire tale, Chiqui is a truly haunting experience. More of an atmospheric thriller than a scarefest, it's a remarkably tense work. The type of horror that leaves you on the edge of your seat, not for what's hiding in the corner, but what's right in front of you. What makes Chiqui really stand out as a horror is its moral ambiguity. It explores how far paranoia and fear can drive people away from their humanity. Chiqui takes its time in allowing that looming dread to sink in, inviting you into this community, showing you how it works, before completely breaking it down. That slow build-up in the first half pays off with one of the most disturbing endings in anime. Chiqui understands the difficulty of capturing that deep-rooted fear in animation and delivers an affecting exercise in true terror. Wandering Sun. A story of two middle schoolers dealing with gender dysphoria amidst the onset of puberty, Wandering Sun doesn't shy away from the fear and anxiety that comes with it. The happiness of feeling truly comfortable with yourself, and the emptiness when you don't. Anime has a somewhat checkered history with trans representation, but I think it's safe to say Wandering Sun is a wonderful exception. It takes time in soaking in the joy of its characters' minor victories, while also suffering through the failures. But even as society pushes Nitori down for living to herself, the bravery she shows in continuing to make that dream a reality is nothing short of inspiring. Wandering Sun offers an important experience in showcasing the intense weight of being othered, how hard that is to carry. Whether you've been in Nitori's shoes or not, it's one we can all take something away from. Mawadu Penguin Drum. 14 years after Utena, Kunihiko Ikuhara finally crafted another work, and what do you know, another masterpiece. Ikuhara's characters are all fascinating case studies themselves, showing us their emotional turmoil and toxic relationships, and then seeing how he peels back those layers. Nobody does it better. His style is certainly not for everybody. If you're the type of person that needs all the answers and needs them now, better stay back. Say what you want about his work, but you can't deny how ambitious it is. Penguin Drum wants you to think. to consider the implications and motivations of every character, of every action. Like Utena, a huge part of Penguin Drum is in tackling structures of oppression, here in the form of politicking and cults, but that isn't accomplished overnight or by one person. Dealing heavy in themes of fate and destiny, Mawadu Penguin Drum is a staple of the decade from one of the industry's brightest minds. If you haven't seen this modern anime classic, I suggest you rectify that immediately. Carnival Phantasm. Shout out to whoever thought a sketch comedy of Nasuverse properties would make for a great anime. Carnival Phantasm seems like the weirdest idea on paper. In execution, it's still weird. Hell, just watch the OP. But therein lies the genius. Let's face it, Type Moon can be a complicated mess, but that's part of what we love about it. Taking the piss of the many oddities of its own universe, Carnival Phantasm turns it up to 11. Caster's borderline saber obsession turns into a crazed otaku collection, Dean's old-fashioned mage training means she can't operate a DVR, and Lancer just dies in increasingly extravagant ways. Still to this day, no anime sketch has made me laugh more than the Holy Grail Grand Prix. The delivery makes it so you don't even have to know these characters to follow the punchline, but if you do, Carnival Phantasm is truly the perfect satire of Fate and Type Moon. Hands down, the weirdest, best comedy anime ever. The Woman Called Fujiko Mine. Taking Lupin in a darker direction than previous installments, director Sayo Yamamoto delivers a dazzling origin story, chronicling how Fujiko Mine came to be the iconic femme fatale we know now, as well as her first interactions with the franchise's other stars. I can't say enough about the series' aesthetic, a perfect fit for this moody story. Despite the enormous amount of nudity, it somehow manages to avoid gratuity. How Fujiko uses her sexuality, how the show frames it, and how she retains her agency are all extremely important from the jump. Be warned, there's quite a bit of heavy content here from torture to child abuse. Don't worry if this is your introduction to the franchise though. I'd only seen Castle of Cagliostro prior and had no problems following. Stylish, unique, and above all gorgeous, The Woman Called Fujiko Mine illustrates exactly why Sayo Yamamoto is one of anime's brightest directors, and the titular thief, one of its strongest female icons. Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions. A rare work showcasing both a tremendous acumen for action sequences as well as intimate character animation, Chunibyo illustrates the human stories KyoAni has become known for, though perhaps in a way quite unlike the others. Hilarious and heavy, bombastic and personal, it's a remarkably unique balance that comes together with such purpose. Wrapped around this hectic story of imaginative high schoolers is a tale of soaking in the magic of a single day, with a lovely romantic drama on top to match. I've seen 40-episode romance anime with lesser heart than Chunibyo's single core. While I'd personally rather forget the second season, the emotional core densely packed into the first is truly a sight to behold, and still one of KyoAni's most remarkable products. Tomiko Market and Tomiko Love Story. You didn't think I'd go through this list without including something from Naoko Yamada, did you? Tomiko Market is this wonderful amalgam of pure comfy and sweet adolescence. It crafts such a beautiful community in Usagiyama, truly a family, with Tomiko at the center. Even removing Love Story from the equation, Market would still earn a spot on this list. Nevertheless, let's talk about that film. I've often said Tomiko Love Story represents everything I come to anime for. It explores that anxious feeling of standing at the edge of adulthood, at the edge of the universe, as Yamada put it, unsure where to go next. It's the perfect teen romance story, excellently capturing the ethereal nature of young love. Yamada's artistic style and ability to so viscerally convey emotion always seems to speak to me. There's no one in the industry trying what she does. I once considered Love Story my #1 of all time, until another KyoAni work swiped that spot. Even so, if you asked me what I look for in an anime, I'd say Tomiko Love Story. Little Witch Academia. Charming in every sense of the word, Little Witch Academia is the perfect family anime. Rife with a delightful collection of personalities in an enchanting, beautifully rendered world, it's a magic made for all ages. That's the last witch pun, I swear. While the 2013 OVA is the primary reason for LWA's place on the list, really this entry is for the franchise as a whole. The former is a truly amazing production, with its stunning artwork and remarkable visual composition courtesy of director Yo Yoshinari. The TV series may not quite live up to those lofty standards, but it's still a tribute to fun, with its wacky expressions and wild action sequences. No matter the iteration, Little Witch Academia captures everything great about anime as a medium, with its rich heart and willingness to just have fun. The Eccentric Family. If you were still unsure just how much I love stories about family, these next two entries, which interestingly aired in back-to-back seasons of 2013, should erase all doubt. First up, The Eccentric Family, or Uchoten Kazoku, a magical yet grounded survey of what it means to be family, the sense of duty and togetherness that entails. I love how The Eccentric Family tells its story. Its writing has such flavor, be it dialogue or exposition, the delivery is so engaging. It has this unique painted aesthetic with an incredible amount of detail poured into the background. The art of this series is really something else. The Eccentric Family is at its best when it revels in its spectacle. These moments of pure whimsy, soaking in the life of its world. It's one of the best, and certainly most unique, family dramas in anime, though this next work might have it beat in the latter. Kyosugiga. From one eccentric family to the next, Kyosugiga is the tale of a family separated by time and space itself, finding their way back to each other. It's the rare series that encompassed so much of what I love about this medium from start to finish. I wish more anime would be willing to play with their visual composition like Rie Matsumoto does here. Beyond the bombastic colors and inventive angles, it even completely switches art styles moment to moment at times. It's in that lack of uniformity Kyosugiga draws its aesthetic. It put me right back in that space of my childhood, a reminder of the carefree days with my own family, of what home means to me. Not afraid to spit in the face of anime and even storytelling convention, Kyosugiga quickly carved out a place knocking on the door of my top 10, let alone top 60. Ping Pong the Animation. Admittedly, I haven't watched very many sports anime, but Ping Pong is quite easily my favorite, though it might be more accurate to call it an anime about sports than a sports anime. Not to say sports anime are inherently bad or anything, but Ping Pong takes a much different path. This is a story about how a game brings people together and wedges them apart. How futile is the fight to bridge the gap between talent and dedication, and how do we grow through failure? With masterful direction courtesy of Masaaki Yuasa, Ping Pong is, at its heart, a human story. Painfully so. The loose, deformed visual style is certainly not for everyone, but I find it has its own charm. Top it all off with a 10 out of 10 soundtrack from my favorite anime composer, Kensuke Ushio, and Ping Pong the Animation is one you definitely don't want to miss. Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. I'll be honest, the only reason I watched Nozaki-kun in the faraway time of 2014 was because I liked Chio's design. Bear in mind, this was before I followed anime seasonally or was a part of any community, so I didn't really know what I was doing. Arbitrary reasons aside, I made a smart choice. Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun may not be the only comedy anime parodying rom-com tropes, but it's certainly the best one. From dating sims to oblivious leads, Nozaki-kun cuts through it all. Even so, it doesn't expect a certain level of familiarity with these genre trappings from the viewer. Its comedic timing more than makes up for any lack of experience. A rare anime I feel I could recommend to anybody, Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun is just a damn good time. Now if only we had a season 2. Mob Psycho 100. Hectic, energetic, and fun, Mob Psycho 100 is an animation powerhouse. It puts others in its genre to shame. Seriously, most action anime are playing checkers while Mob is at 4-dimensional chess. Combining legitimately compelling character work with a strong comedic heart and, of course, brilliant action animation, Mob Psycho 100 is the type of work people will point to years from now as a pillar of great modern anime. There's little I can say to capture what makes it so stellar. Rather, what I can show you speaks far louder. With news of a second season on the way, I can't wait to see what's next. One of the most ambitious, inventive anime of the decade, Mob Psycho 100 is a must-see showcase of the incredible artistry this medium is capable of. Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinshu. At last we reached the 30th and final spot on this list, and what a fitting way to end. It should come as no surprise to see my Anime of the Year selection 2 years running earn a place here. Rakugo is a beautifully told drama of love and loss, the nature of performativity, and most of all, people. You see, Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinshu is, at its core, a story about life. If nothing I've said over the years was enough to convince you, maybe this will. Rakugo guides us through the entirety of the main character's natural life with a front row view every step of the way. The mistakes of youth, the sacrifices he makes to reach the top, and the tragedy that befalls him because of it, seeing the world pass you by as you age, and ultimately coming to terms with mortality. How cool it is to follow such a fascinating character through every one of these moments. Rakugo is genuinely one of a kind. From the bottom of my heart, I'm truly grateful I was able to follow along this ride. And that'll do it for me. I really enjoyed putting this list together. It was both a nice walk down memory lane and an interesting look at how my fandom has evolved. It's still hard for me to believe I've been at this for 3 years and 100 videos now. I look back at myself in 2015 and see just how much I've grown. As a content creator, as an anime fan, as a person. I may not always feel it, but this channel, in making content itself and through all the wonderful people I've met because of it, has truly been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. I'm still not 100% sure how my next steps will unfold, but I hope I can continue being here. As always, thanks for watching. Here's to 100 more.
Tune